Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Yeah, obviously people will notice that you're fighting on the Boxer show on Saturday. If I can ask, relationship between you and Matchroom, how is that? Did things end a bit sourly, or will you always have good memories of what went on? What's your standing now?
There's some people in Matchroom that are lifelong friends, like my girls, Bella and Alex. They're going to be here Saturday night cheering me on. You can't beat them. You know, there's some amazing people in Matchroom. I couldn't fight because of my injury, and then got offered a fight date. I don't even know if I should say this. Got offered a fight date earlier in the year, and unfortunately it was on the day of my dad's funeral, and I said can't do it, and then never heard back after that.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. You alright?
But I'm not sitting here like slating or running down Matchroom, because listen, they offered me a fight on the Dublin show, but I'd literally just moved to Liverpool. I just had a new team. And it was for a world title, and I was like, whoa, I've just been with my new team like a few weeks, like, and you want me to fight in 5 weeks? Like, it's never going to happen. I'm still getting to know my coaches. Like, it was never going to happen. And then obviously, like I said, the next fight that I got offered was on the day of my dad's funeral, which obviously, yeah, that isn't ideal, is it? Let's be honest. And I've not spoken about that before, so. And then, yeah, I've just never heard from him since. And it's fine, they offered me two dates. I couldn't do them. So, if that's the end of that relationship, then that's what it is. I'm not speaking bad of them. I wish them, they were good to me, do you know what I mean? Like, I was that way from the start to now, so it is what it is.
Sounds like a rather unceremonious end to Shannon Courtney's time at Matchroom. I was surprised that she didn't slag them, that she didn't trash them. So many fighters do once they change their decorum. Go somewhere else and say something else. Not Shannon. She still spoke highly of them. The opportunities that they afforded her, that in the 2 years that she's been out, it's not because they didn't offer her anything, they did, but at the time it was less than ideal. You heard what she said. Shows character. Shannon's. That even though the phone stopped ringing, she didn't take shots. She was appreciative, graceful. This weekend, she will be making her return to the Sky Sports platform, where she boxed for a good while. The Sky Sports platform, and her debut under the Boxer banner. Sort of. They didn't announce inking a promotional pact with Shannon Courtney, but because she's boxing on this show, because they gave her a slot, you get the sense that that's a distinct possibility that moving forward, she might be boxing under the Boxer banner. Or Queensbury. Because of who her manager is. Spencer Brown of Gold Star Promotions. He does a lot of business with Frank Warren, so I wouldn't be surprised if Shannon ended up getting a slot on a Queensbury show at some point in the future. Neither would surprise me. Boxer signing her or her boxing on Queensbury. I like Shannon. I mean, I know that she's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people felt that she was fake, disingenuous, with a very bland persona, this and that. One or two things she might have said when she was very young. Some who choose to still hold that against her many years later. Nobody's perfect. Through this lens, the lens of a boxing fan that watches a lot of boxing and just sticking to that, I like Shannon. Her fights are exciting. She's fun to watch, win or lose. Very posh. Important. I don't mind her. It's like the sixth Spice Girl. Cockney accent just rubs me the right way. Scratches my itch.
Simmer down, lover boy.
She'll be boxing this weekend on the undercard of Adam Azim versus O'Hara Davies in what can only be described as a tune-up fight. She needs a tune-up. After 2 years or close to 2 years of inactivity. I was surprised when I saw it was going to be at bantamweight. I didn't think she could make it anymore. But she has. And both girls are weighed in. So one thing I always talk about when it comes to the women's divisions is the presence of a major promotional outfit with a prize stallion, a pony in that show. Now, Matchroom is no longer invested in the 118-pound division. They're not. If Shannon plays her cards right, Boxer picks her up, that would give her an edge over every other fighter at the weight, even the champions. Because they don't have a lot of money behind them, regularly fighting on major platforms. In a situation where Boxer picks Shannon up, she would.
That's an edge.
The money and the means to make things happen, though even with that, she would have to tread carefully. Shannon's a good fighter, but I don't like her chances against, say, Dina Thorsland. And I think it's too soon to take on someone like Shernika Johnson, who's young. She's still young, but she has more pro fights, more experience in the paid ranks than Shannon.
Target the winner of Yoshida versus Metcalf 2. Whoever wins, that's a more winnable fight.
Talk more about that in another video. I like Shannon. At least, I don't mind her.
Very demure.
Blonde. Posh. She's a fun fighter to watch. I'm glad she's back. Wish her all the best this weekend. I think she should be able to get the job done. She should be able to beat this Ramos broad.
It's sad because Jack is one of the nicest guys. You know, he was asking me how was my playing ride. That's what we got the mic. He said, "How was my? Did you get in today?" He asked me the same thing you asked me. You know, so it wasn't no banter. It wasn't no trash talk between me and him. Look, it's the fight is big enough. This is the biggest fight you can make outside the belts, and you know that's it. It don't need to be no trash talk. You know, for me, I want to go out there and enjoy myself, have fun. That's what I'm gonna go do. Be Regis Prograis. If I'm me, I should have no trouble. I mean, I've been sparring. I mean, I don't even want to tell you what I've been doing sparring. I mean, I've been just, like for me, the main thing is being present, being in the moment, and being happy about it. And I'm happy right now. I'm super happy. I can't even stop smiling at everybody. I'm smiling at the cameras. I'm smiling all around. So it's definitely not like last fight where I wanted to kill everybody. I'm happy right now, and it's cool. So, yeah, I'm good.
Public workout yesterday for the upcoming Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis fight set to go down in a little over a week's time. Good fight, interesting fight. Another chance for Jack Catterall to add the scalp of a former champion at this weight to his CV.
Things are real cordial between them. There's no bad blood. It's just business.
Battle of the Southpaws. Jack Catterall's a southpaw. Regis Prograis a southpaw. A lot of southpaws at 140 pounds. Josh Taylor, Subriel Matias.
Sandor Martin is a southpaw.
Gary Antoine Russell is a southpaw. And these two guys are southpaws. Jack Catterall's 31, whereas Regis is 35. Sporting a professional record of 29 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 24 knockouts. Having never been knocked out in 31 professional bouts, certainly one of the bigger punchers in this division, though he hasn't been able to show it in his last 2 fights, fighting defensively minded fighters like Devin Haney and Danielito Zorrilla. He's about to fight another in Jack Catterall. This may be an opportunity for Regis to get back in the winner's bracket and show everybody that he's still got it, but it's an uphill battle.
Jack is defensively minded too.
Sporting a professional record of 29 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 13 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 30 professional bouts. He's not the puncher that Regis Prograis is, but he's likely not struggling to make the weight as much as Regis is either. I saw him at the open workouts. Looks a bit drained, bit gaunt.
Regis does.
May as well be facing an undefeated fighter in Jack Catterall, since his lone defeat, quote-unquote defeat, was the controversial decision in the Josh Taylor fight. The first one, most people agree Jack should have got the nod. Jack should have won a decision. They didn't give it to him.
But he got revenge in his last fight, which was earlier this year.
In May, whereas Regis has not seen action since December of last year when he lost his belt and dropped a lopsided decision to Devin Haney. He has sat out most of this year,
and he's just now coming back
for what can only be described as an uphill battle. As Jack Catterall, he's a southpaw like Regis is a southpaw. He's currently on a 3-fight winning streak, and the fight is taking place in Manchester. That's more Jack Catterall's neck of the woods than it is Regis's.
You know.
Not how I expected things to go for Regis when Matchroom picked him up, when Matchroom signed him. The hope was that they would make a unification match between Regis Prograis and Subriel Matias. In hindsight, I really wish they would have. Devin kind of ruined those plans.
Ruined?
They picked up Regis Prograis and they picked up Subriel Matias. Everybody's excited. Everybody's anticipating an action fight between those 2 champions at the time, but Devin Haney elected to move up in weight, and he wanted to fight a champion, his first fight at 140, so he landed on Regis.
Regis subsequently loses his title to Devin Haney. Subriel loses his title to Liam Botto.
And I think it would have been better for the division, better for the 140-pound division, if we would have got that Regis Prograis versus Subriel Matias fight instead of Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney. The Devin Haney fight, good fight for Devin that it was, good performance.
It wasn't exciting.
Prograis versus Matias, if they would have made it, that would have been an action fight. That would have been an all-action shootout, as Subriel would have tried to overwhelm Regis with volume and aggression, and Regis would have to do his best to work around that, get some counters in there, some hard counters.
That would have been a more fun fight to watch.
Devin ruined all of that. Now he's on the comeback trail, so to speak. He's on the comeback trail like Regis is on the comeback trail.
He's got his own problems.
And so will Regis in Manchester in a little over a week's time to beat Jack Catterall, to beat a mover and a jabber and a counterpuncher.
You need aggression. You need activity.
It's not necessarily Regis's MO, since Regis is a bit of a counterpuncher himself. At his best, he's hanging back, shifting his weight onto his back foot, and setting traps to land hard counters. Then once they do, he can move in and put punches together, but he's got to land the counter first.
It's what initiates it.
Without that, he's neutralized. That's why Devin Haney beat him, and that's why Jack Catterall might beat him. You need a good jab to beat a guy like Regis, and you need to be defensively astute, defensively minded. If you think about Regis's last two fights and why he looked the way that he looked, it's because he was fighting defensively minded fighters. Jack Catterall's a defensively minded fighter.
So he's back in the shit.
Guy who's gonna use his jab, stay behind it, ain't gonna get too greedy with his output. It's hard for a guy like Regis to deal with that. Regis needs to catch you in between.
He can't do that if you're staying behind single jabs.
Or primarily using your jab, as that might be harder for him to counter. Jack's got a good one. He's got a good jab. If Jack wins, and he might, I could see a Dalton Smith fight down the line. That could be very big.
There's that. There's the winner of Pato versus Hitchens.
For the IBF title, that's supposed to be going down real soon. On the island of Puerto Rico, strange place to do it, but that's where it's going down. Jack's got some options if he wins. So does Regis. I mean, if Regis wins, if he pulls off this miracle, maybe he can fight the winner of Pato versus Hitchens.
I could go for that.
Talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches. Finally, in men's cruiserweight news, Zurdo Ramirez is in pursuit of legend status. He eyes a heavyweight run.
Is he out of his mind?
Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez has opened the door to a possible campaign at heavyweight in the near future. Cruiserweight Ramirez, 33, is preparing feverishly for his upcoming WBA and WBO Cruiserweight Unification Championship against Chris Billum Smith in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on November 16th. Mexico's Ramirez is hopeful to get the job done in faraway Saudi.
So it's not like it hasn't been done before?
A guy from the lower weights making his way to the heavyweight division? It's been done. Roy Jones Jr. did it. Remember, he started out as a junior middle, but he was so good, he eventually made his way to heavyweight for a fight with then WBA champion John the Quiet Man Ruiz. And he beat him. He out-hustled him.
He did it.
Though context is key. Zurdo Ramirez is no Roy Jones Jr. Roy was regarded as the number one pound-for-pound fighter at the time, number one in the sport. And Roy, while he did have that fight at heavyweight, it was more of a stint than a campaign. He didn't stay up there. He had the fight, then he moved back down.
At least at that time, in that heavyweight landscape, there was a title of opportunity, John Ruiz's title. There are no titles like that in today's heavyweight division.
There must be a best performance in Saudi Arabia right now on November 16th, and then probably 2 years, 3 years, I can move up in weight and be a heavyweight, Ramirez told Boxing Scene. Ramirez held the WBO super middleweight title from 2016 to 2018, having decision then champion Arthur Abraham to win the belt. The Mexican went on to make 5 successful defenses of his super middleweight title before moving up to light heavy, recording 5 consecutive wins en route to a WBA title shot with Dimitri Bivol. That fight did not go Ramirez's way, which saw the Mexican move up to cruiserweight.
And he's been doing good so far.
Doing all right. I had another fight after the Bivol defeat, and I couldn't make weight. And I was like, okay, I'm done with 175, and I need to move on. After making a successful cruiserweight debut against Joe Smith last October, Ramirez landed a shot at Armenian champion Arsen Goulamarian for his WBA title, cruising to a 12-round UD win. On November 16th, Ramirez will have another opportunity to make history if he can unify the cruiserweight division against Billum Smith. Only time will tell, but Ramirez remains confident of an emphatic victory. I see my hands being raised that night. I think it would be a nice win for me, and I can actually give the fans the best fight possible. I want people to remember me as a legend who gave everything to the fans. Now, I don't think Zurdo has to go all the way to heavyweight to be remembered as a legend.
Might sound funny.
But consider that Zurdo Ramirez is, in fact, the first Mexican super middleweight champion of any kind. He's the first Mexican national to ever win a belt there. I believe he's also the first Mexican national to ever win a belt at cruiserweight.
You don't see a lot of Mexican fighters in the cruiserweight division. Most of what you get there are European guys, British guys,
And some Aussies, but you don't normally see Mexican fighters campaigning that high.
Zurdo is.
So that if he beats Chris Billam-Smith and unifies those two alphabet titles, that is quite the accomplishment in and of itself. I don't think it gets said enough that this guy did a full 180. He went from being a mid-range to inside pressure fighter to being a full-on boxer, a mover, a jabber.
Pressure fighters don't normally change that much. He did.
It's really something. He's talking about a heavyweight campaign in 2 to 3 years, but look at the landscape, who the champions are now and who they might be later. I don't think Zurdo wins a belt from anybody that has one here today. He doesn't beat Usyk, he doesn't beat Daniel. They both knock him out.
There's too much size up there, too much power. He won't be able to deal.
I saw him at the kickoff press conference for the Chris Billam-Smith fight, and you could see it, that Chris Billam-Smith is a full-fledged cruiserweight, bit bigger than Zurdo.
You could see it.
Tail of the tape is one thing, the fighter's body type is quite another, and you could see that Chris is bigger than Zurdo. Zurdo's a very fleshy cruiserweight, not as big-bodied as the rest of the guys you find in the division. The saving grace for him is the change that he's made, that he's not trying to overpower these guys anymore, he's trying to box them up. He's got enough speed and mobility to do that.
I think he's gonna beat Chris Billam-Smith.
Then afterwards, if he wants to stay in the winner's bracket, and he wants to continue to make history, well, you should probably stay far away from Jai Opataya and target the winner of the Rositsky versus Mikhailian fight for the WBC title. Look to fight that guy, because whoever that guy is, you stand a better chance of beating him than you do of beating Jai. Jai will knock you out.
Simple as.
Still pretty good for a guy who used to campaign as a super middle to reign as a champion at cruiser. I mean, there are a lot of light heavyweights that don't have what it takes to win a belt at cruiser, but Zurdo did, and very soon he might win another alphabet title.
That'll get him on the Ring IQ pound for pound list.
You win the WBO from Arthur Abraham at 168, the WBA from Arsene Goulamarian at cruiser, subsequently the WBO again from Chris Billam-Smith. That's 3 alphabet titles, 3 champions you took a belt from across 2 divisions. That'll get him on the list.
Likely in the lower tier.
But that will get him on the list. Who you beat matters, and where you beat them, when you beat them.
It's a solid argument.
So while I don't think Zurdo has what it takes to campaign as a heavyweight at any point, he might still be able to unify 1 or 2 more alphabet titles and make some history.
At cruiserweight, not heavyweight.